This is one of the hottest new releases in the magic book world. There are plenty of books released every month, but within these pages you'll find 50 tricks from an artist who has traveled the world and has over 40 years of experience. Not only does it have practical magic, the author loves magic books, and that exudes from every page. In this episode of Erudite Magic, we'll touch on who is this book for, what kind of skill level do you need, what I liked, what I didn't like, but enough with the overview. Let's dive into the delightful world of this magic book. If you couldn't tell from the thumbnail or the book cover, the artist is Charlie Frye, a clown, juggler, and magician. Along with his wife, Sherry, they make up Charlie Frye and Company. Together, they have headlined for kings and queens in variety shows on 6 different continents. Needless to say, Charlie knows what works and what doesn't to entertain a crowd, and he's sharing his wisdom with us in this book, Slightly Absurd. This episode of Erudite Magic is sponsored by Don's Magic and Books. Don has Slightly Absurd in stock and ready to ship to you. So if this seems like it's something you're interested in, don't hesitate to order from Don, who always offers great prices, free shipping in the United States if you meet certain thresholds, and the satisfaction of knowing that you're doing business with a great guy. Of course, Don has this book, but also carries so many out-of-print, older volumes. You're going to want to check out his website, which I will link down in the description below, because often he only has 1 or maybe 2 copies of some of these rare gems. And with the prices that he offers them, they don't last very long. I'd hate to see you miss out on some book that needs to be in your magic collection, so shop with Don's Magic and Books this week. The book itself is a nearly 300-page hardcover published by Squash Publishing out of Chicago. Squash ranked in my top 5 magic publishers, and it's easy to see why when you look at a book like this. This beauty is full color with almost 1,000 teaching photographs. More on that in a minute. It's also peppered with performance and backstage snapshots from Charlie and Sherry's exploits. There are also hand-drawn illustrations for some of the tricks that were previously published to spice things up for a change of pace. And while there are approximately 50 tricks taught, there are also 6 essays worth their weight in gold interspersed throughout. And there's a meaty 27-page mini-biography at the end of the book. But you want to know, what about the material? How's the magic? The first step to answering that is with another question: who is this for? Charlie is not tipping his stage act, but as he points out in the introduction, that wouldn't do most of us any good anyway. Instead, he's sharing tricks from his professional parlor and close-up repertoire, as well as some of his casual social performance pieces. He confesses that while most of this material is tried and true, there are some pieces that don't have quite the same amount of time in the saddle. He leaves it to the reader to discern which is which, but gives you some advice about how experience will help you decide what material you should pursue. Speaking of the material, it's broken up into various categories, generically collections of tricks with a common theme. For example, 3 different versions of coin to glass, tricks with jumbo props, coins, cards, etc., coin assemblies, dice tricks, mental themed effects, several versions of the cups and balls, tricks with knives, cards, gags, and more. Some of this has been published before via video, whether that's DVD or download, as well as in Magic Magazine. However, this is the first time it's all been collected in one volume, and I believe there's a synergy. That is, that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. If you enjoy great close-up magic, there's definitely something in here for you. When you see the broad cross-selection of material that Charlie is sharing, you start to understand exactly how much the author loves magic. And personally, I think it's really cool that he was sharing some of the more intimate pieces, because that's the situation that a large majority of magicians find themselves in, performing casually for friends and family. And the author encourages you to continue to do that. All along the way, Charlie is sharing with you his rationale for why he made the choices that he did, which will help you shape your own artistic choices. How difficult is this material? Charlie is obviously very well read and well practiced. And while he describes everything in complete detail, the reader will benefit from already having a foundational level of sleight of hand. Don't get me wrong, the material in the book isn't that difficult. In fact, there are some self-working tricks. But the majority of the material will require a little bit of sleight of hand, which means practice. And if you already know some of your own favorite handlings or terminology related to cards and coins, so much the better. However, I also think this is a book that can grow with you. If you want to start with the simple, basically self-working stuff, you can, and as your tastes and abilities change, you can revisit some of the tricks that were previously just beyond your grasp. So what did I love and what did I not like? Well, here's what I loved. There is a great selection of fun material. Really, there's just such a smorgasbord of magic from which to choose. And Charlie is obviously always thinking about how to make it more entertaining. He shares his lines and bits of business to start to train you on how to think about dressing up a piece of magic. So whether you're the kind of person who likes to carry around a few props in their pocket, which he'll go over, or whether you like to prepare something a little more elaborate, there's material in here for that as well. I loved the non-magic portions of the book. Anytime you can absorb wisdom from someone with over 40 years of experience, you should. The essays were smart and thought-provoking, and I took something away from each one. Of particular note, I really enjoyed his discussion on the subject of character. Charlie has obviously developed a very strong character that has taken him around the world, and reading his advice will help me as I continue to shape my character. And it was fun to get to know Charlie a little bit better by reading his mini biography. I'm an ACAN guy, and Charlie Frye is tipping his work on the ACAN plot for the very first time, and he's definitely pulling out all the stops. Not only does he share his methodology of how it works, but he also gives you all those little subtle details that really make the experience shine for your participant. And that's true of everything in this book, not just the ACAN. With the ACAN, if you want to make this play for you, you're going to have to put the work in. But once you do, well, you can see why this has been a reputation maker for Charlie Frye for so many decades. So what did I not like? There's not a whole lot that you can say that's bad about this book. One thing I will point out is that I'm not a big fan of the recent trend to include so many pictures in a magic book. I've brought this up before in previous reviews, and some people will actually love the volume of pictures. But I stand by my opinion that it's too much. It's overwhelming to look at, and sometimes there are completely unnecessary photographs, like a picture of a facial expression. This trend also feels like a little bit of a cop-out not to have to decide which pictures are absolutely necessary to convey what you need to know versus which ones would adequately explain the material. But your mileage can and will vary. It's an admittedly small gripe, but it is one of the few things that I did not care for. The price is also high, but that's fast becoming the new standard, so I'm not sure how much of a real complaint it is. Full retail price on the book is $75, but when you look at a book like this, a beautiful magnum opus from a performer with real-world experience of over 40 years, you start to realize that the price will fade long before the material ever does. I believe that you'll still find plenty of value in this, even at the higher price point. If you're interested in seeing how Charlie performs these pieces, he does have a YouTube channel with plenty of videos to showcase some of his material, including some of the pieces in the book. And if you, like me, enjoy lifetime volumes, you'll also want to check out this review I did on Bruce Bernstein's Unreal, which is also by Squash Publishing. As always, my friends, I appreciate you watching. And until next time, keep reading.